everyone. This is Whiskey Wednesday Weekly. This week, my guest will be Cole Striler. If you haven't heard that name, I'm sure you've heard the last two Strilers, Alex and Tammy, his mother and father. I've done those before. This week is kind of a little unique. Cole's only 22 years old, and I've asked him to come on the show because ultimately he's actually had a pretty decent run from, I'd say, 10 years old to 22 years old in the last 12 years from creating a business to grades up and down to being the president of a class, just all kinds of stuff. And I've known Cole ever since I've obviously met them. So it's been 13, 14 years now. So it's been fun watching him grow up. Him and his sister have done well for themselves. And so we'll get into the story a little bit here in a minute. But first of all, Cole has, and this is actually a pretty cool part of it all, Cole has decided not to drink for 3 months. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It'll be towards the end of the story while we explain that, so I will unfortunately be the only one doing shots. I'm so bummed.
I'll join you next time.
That's my gig, so it doesn't bother me whatsoever. Tonight, though, I do just have a simple Buffalo Trace with water as my chaser. I normally explain that to everyone. So nothing fancy this week. Hydrate as I drink. I learned that from one of my guests a couple weeks ago, so that's always a good thing. But we do actually have a new selection of whiskeys this week, and that's what's pretty cool. We have not had any of them except Buffalo Trace on the show. All the other 5 are brand new for me, and it's pretty interesting. Even though I've tasted them, I just haven't shot them. How about that?
Okay. Good. Yeah.
So we'll go right into it, actually. We'll start off a little bit about Cole's story. Obviously at 22, he started out at a young age. I remember his parents saying when he was about 10 years old, he had this just terrible grades going on. I mean, like for him, his mom's a teacher. Yeah. So as a teacher, I remember her saying like how much that was upsetting her and figuring out what's going on with her, star pupil in essence, I guess, because at the time her littles were super little. And then Lexi, I think, was doing okay in school at the time.
Yeah.
So she's thinking troubled youth, what's going on? So tell me, even at a young age, and I think you said 6th grade? What was going on? Why were you getting such bad grades? I know that seems weird at 6th grade, but you really were, and your mom noticed it, obviously.
Yeah, it even started before 6th grade, too. Like, I think in elementary school, I figured out pretty early. I was, I guess, inherently a pretty lazy kid.
Okay.
So I remember, I think it was 5th grade, we got decent-sized math homework, and I remember looking at it going, I can either attempt to solve all these problems, or I could just write down an answer for all of them and turn it in.
Right.
And I, of course, chose the latter because I was like, I don't want to spend all night doing a math assignment.
Right.
And so I turned it in and, of course, got bad grades on it. And, yeah, same thing with 6th grade. I was failing, getting D's and C's in most of my classes.
Right.
And I think it was more of a lack of effort and lack of drive that really caused that. And, yeah,
now, what school were you going to?
So I grew up in Valley Center.
Right.
Kindergarten through 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
In 6th grade, I was also kind of a troublemaker. Like, I would talk back to the teachers, cause, problems with other students.
I know all this, by the way.
Yeah, and
we were thinking this guy's headed for a downhill path.
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of thought that. Like,
right.
What are we going to do with him? My parents even almost threatened to take me to a boarding school, and they even drove me to the boarding school
to show you what the doors look like.
We did a tour of it. Everyone's wearing uniforms. So then 6th grade, they were like, all right, we need some sort of change. Like, we got to, what we're currently doing right now is not working. Right. So they took me and enrolled me in a school an hour away in Irvine. Mm-hmm. And Irvine has a much stricter, academic standard. And I really got, slapped in the face with that curriculum. And I think that, although I didn't necessarily do super well in Irvine, it started to, teach me how to study, taught me how to get better grades. And I mean, when I was going to school in Valley Center Elementary, I would just come home and want to ride my dirt bike all day. School was never that important. And then Irvine kind of instilled this sense of importance in academics. And then, I ended up coming back to Valley Center 7th grade. And that was my study habits from Irvine didn't change. And I got straight A's my first semester back at Valley Center. And I realized, wait, it's not that hard. There's just kind of a system. You just have to put in a certain amount of work, do the homework, try a little bit, and you get good grades. So I'd say I figured it out around 7th grade.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because it was that 1 year, even like you said, even though your grades were bad in Irvine, it wasn't because you were not trying. It's just because they were super hard. And that then brought back to Valley Center. Not saying Valley Center was super easy, but you got that out of your system of like, hey, we need to get some stuff done, you know?
Yeah, and I think like elementary school, it was like I figured out the minimum amount of effort I could like put in to get by.
Right.
And then I was using that same strategy in Irvine, and it just wasn't cutting it.
Right.
And I remember my uncle at the time, we were living with him, and he once asked me, and he was like, Cole, like, let's have a serious talk. I said, okay. And he said, like, how much effort are you putting in right now?
Right.
And I kind of sat there, I was like, maybe like 70%.
Yeah.
And he's like, why?
Yeah. What's the
And
reason?
I didn't have a reason, and there wasn't a reason. And I started to think, like, wait, maybe I could be doing a lot more. So I think that's, and then he ended up passing away a few months later. So I think that question that he asked me has kind of stuck in the back of my head, and it kind of makes me reevaluate like how much effort am I actually putting in, and then you can make adjustments. But I think that's kind of how it turned around.
Yeah. Well, we'll stop there because it's my time to have a shot. My timer went off, but I do want to actually take a second and people, if they haven't watched the episode and they're watching tonight, and they haven't gone back and watched his mother, Tammy, she actually talks about her brother, KJ, which is the one he's referring to as uncle. So hearing that, it's actually pretty cool because I didn't even know that story about the conversation with you and him, and then him passing away, and then kind of like instilling that early on, and you're going, okay, it's almost like you're doing it for him, but you're not, right? Like you're in a sense, you're going, he taught me something, and now he passes away. It's like there's just that certain internal thing. Is what I'm saying.
The question sticks a little bit more,
right?
And like even to this day, it still is kind of in the back, like am I putting in 100%? And if not, why not? And then how can I put in 100%? Yeah, right. It's just a little thing that has kept me going.
That's what I'm saying. That's pretty cool, actually, especially when you watch back your mom. So I'm actually going to start out with Angel's Envy, which is one of actually my new favorites. I say that. I have like 10 favorites, obviously. That's not good to keep saying. But what happened was, I think I brought up the story with Joel 2 weeks ago or last week or whatever, how this came about. I was at a bar. It was brand new at the time, like 6-7 years ago. All of a sudden, it's on the scene. It's super expensive. So, cheers. Here, have a drink of your coffee.
So I got coffee. But yeah.
That is super smooth.
Yeah?
Yeah. You'll have to try that when you can drink. So anyway, after that, I think we hit on a little bit about, so this is weird because I think you said 7th grade is your change of grades, and then all of a sudden you decide to start some kind of like t-shirt company or some kind of company or whatever at 7th grade. What was that about?
I remember I was sitting in math class one day and I was kind of zoning out. That was pretty normal for me. I would typically zone out. Short attention span.
Yeah.
And I had this vision of starting a t-shirt company actually. And my dad had started a business in the past. I'm sure that came up.
That was also on the video,
So, of course, wanting to follow in his footsteps, I thought to myself, the exact thought I had was, a lot of people wait till adulthood to start what they want to do in life. And I thought, why would I wait? And in my mind at the time, like around 21 was adulthood. So I was like, why would I wait until I'm 21 to start what I want to do if I could just start it right now? So I came home, talked to my dad, asked him how you start a business. And there's a lot more details in that, but ended up starting a t-shirt company, 7th grade, sold t-shirts to my friends and stuff. It was not successful at all.
Sure.
And probably sold $200 worth of shirts that entire year.
And you know what's funny, Cole, is I'm not trying to cut us in or but my boys created that Lonely Tree.
That's right.
Remember?
Yep.
And sold about that many t-shirts, like maybe 20 or 30 to some friends. Yeah. And they're like, okay, this is not a lot of work, but they were also at a different point, and I certainly wasn't going to fund this massive business.
No, yeah.
Fortunately, he ended up doing some other things with that brand.
Yeah. So fast forward to 9th grade. Well, I'll fast forward to 8th grade. So 7th grade, not much happened with the business. 8th grade, I wanted to do more. I was really enjoying, I felt very creative running a business. Even just internally, designing how the business works. It's takes creative work.
Right.
And there's not obviously a book that you could just read and you also know how to run a business. It's a lot of trial and error and experimentation. So I was trying different things, and one of the things that I experimented with was going to events with lots of people, setting up a 10x10 easy up, selling shirts there.
Oh, you did? You
I
started
did,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
And it was at the Lucas Oil races, Lucas Oil off-road races. My dad worked at Lucas Oil at the time, so I thought it would be a perfect place to start. And I remember the first race we sold shirts at was at Glen Helen, Glen Helen Raceway. And I took probably, 100 shirts, and I think we had sweatshirts at that time. I think we even had hats. So the line of products had grown a little bit.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was called Zhuja Wear.
Right.
So the name went from Zhuja to Zhuja Wear. And I think in 2 days, we sold about $300 worth of shirts.
Okay.
So think about that. So the entire first year in business, I sold about $200 to $300 worth of shirts.
Sure.
And now 8th grade, I was in 2 days selling that amount.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something here. And then 9th grade comes along, and I was still going to these events. It kind of became more normal. I'd say every couple months I would go to an event. And then, but I was still capped off at about $300 per weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I thought this isn't enough. Like, it costs $100 in gas, and then material cost is another $100. So I'm not making a whole lot.
$50 maybe net.
Yeah, and then I got to pay my buddy $50 a day. So I was about breaking even.
Right.
And I thought, I got to do something different. And there were also probably at least 10 other companies selling plain shirts on Vendor Row.
Right.
So I had a lot of competition, and I didn't have anything that really differentiated me. And I thought, is there something I could do within clothing? Because I like the idea of sticking with a clothing brand. I didn't want to just completely change the company. But I thought, is there something else I could do within clothing that no one else is doing at these events? And also at that time, like, socks were becoming cool. Like, people started wearing socks as a fashion statement. And there wasn't a sock company within the motorsports industry. Right. And I thought, well, I could become that. So obviously did a lot of research, did a lot of sampling, ended up finding a factory in Korea who can manufacture socks, and changed the name from Zhuja Wear to Zhuja Socks. I took designing socks was harder than designing shirts. So I had to take a local community college class at Palomar College on Photoshop. And
as a kid, mind you, it's just hard to do.
I was.
You have to get parents' permissions and all that stuff.
Yeah, this was end of 8th grade, early 9th grade.
Yeah.
So I had to get teacher permissions and everything. Yeah. And at that point, I was on top of my grades at middle school, so the teachers were like, "Sure, go ahead." And then, changed the socks. And
now, didn't you guys have a line, if I'm not mistaken, or come out isn't it had to be fireproof or something for racing, or was that something else?
That was something we experimented with.
Okay.
And what's funny is we committed to making fireproof socks, because a lot of the racers, they wouldn't wear our socks because they have to wear complete fireproof suits.
Correct.
And a lot of them were wearing fireproof socks, and they weren't going to change to just cotton socks because those burn easily.
Yeah.
So
that's the point, right?
Yeah. So we actually we found a company who can make fireproof socks. We placed an order for 5,000 pairs, and we waited, and typically it takes 90 days to get a sock order back. And so we waited that would be on the high end. So we waited about 90 days,
right?
And we hadn't heard back. I was like, well, maybe we should check in with them. And so we emailed them, and they had forgotten about our order. So they never charged us. They never made the socks.
That's good. At least they didn't charge you.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up getting out of that deal. They were like, well, we can place the order now. And I said, no, that's okay. I think we'll stick to what we're doing. But yeah, that could have changed the whole business. Maybe we would have become more of a racing sock brand.
Yeah,
but
that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it still went good, right? You ended up, I think, for 4 years. Or no, what'd you say earlier? How long did that sock business last?
Basically from 2011 to 2019, maybe 2018. But yeah, so sophomore, junior year in high school, the business changed again. So at these events, we would sell to people, but lots of companies would come up to us and say, we want private label socks. And I would say, okay, that's fine. And I would kind of work private label deals on the side. And eventually that became a bigger business than just selling to regular consumers.
Sure.
So I focused on that. And grew that until about sophomore year of college. Paid for the first 2 years at Berkeley.
Which is what I was trying to get at. I mean, that's impressive, right? I mean, you guys got to get your mind around the fact that it sounds like, he's just selling socks out of a van.
Well,
you're dealing with production people.
I sold 30,000 pairs of socks sophomore year.
Of high school.
Of college.
Oh, okay. You were still doing it, that much.
Sophomore year of college was the last year. We sold 30,000 pairs that year, and then I had to focus on school. I had to do it, yeah.
Right.
I didn't think it could grow much beyond that, and at the time I was starting to get into programming, and that required my full attention. But
sure.
Yeah, it was.
But that's still a great experience for 6 years. It sounds like that you went through that, and that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's the whole point of this. I mean, there's way more to his story, but that is the nuts and bolts of watching him progress through those years.
Yeah.
And, and he's right. I mean, I think my boys were totally, I mean, the whole high school. It was those damn high mid-knee socks, mid-shin socks, whatever.
I kind of rode the sock wave.
Yeah, you did a really good job of finding that niche skater kind of, just trendy type stuff. And the brand was Zuzia, and it was this cool brand that no one else could even have thought of. And wasn't it something from your father's old company, kind of the logo-ish?
Yeah, so the logo from my dad's old company wasn't being used anymore, and when I needed a logo, I thought, well, I could save a lot of money by just using his logo. So I changed the name, but kept the same logo.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was an entirely different market, so no one knew the logo.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, too. Yeah,
it was I think he did it back in 1998.
Yeah, so. I just love that. I mean, that's what's interesting. If you really should take this one and go back and watch his father's and then his mother's.
That'd be interesting.
Because the things do tie in together. And, they have three other kids, and they're all great. But Cole was right at that peak where I watched him develop into this. I mean, we used to box each other's. Like, he was a kid, and he'd still come up. He was that ornery guy. Even when he was getting smart, doing good grades, he still wanted to challenge adults and make an effort, So before we get into the next thing, my timer has gone off, and I do need to take another shot. So I'm way too sober for this interview so far.
6 shots in 45 minutes. That's a commitment.
Well, I'm going with the small shots because my wife is upstairs with his parents tonight, and we're having dinner after.
Yeah, we got
it. So ultimately,
make it through the barbecue.
My wife's like, "Don't do it. Yeah, take it easy tonight."
Yeah.
It does help. Sorry, that was good. It does help that Cole's not drinking. Like otherwise, we'd be like, yeah.
There'll be some structure to this interview.
It keeps me chained, right?
Yeah.
And we won't be slurring at the end, or at least I will. He won't.
Yeah.
So after that, and again, there's no after. There's a lot in between that we're going to get into. So I do want to focus a little bit on high school. I mean, because here he is. Okay, think about this. And I know he had some investors and stuff, but he was still the one doing all the legwork on this business, while again keeping up your grades. While in turn, did you play sports in high school?
Yes, I played 2 years of football and I wrestled for 4 years. All 4 years. Yeah.
So winter is a wrestling sport.
Yes.
And then football is the fall. So they fall right in together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And socks are usually worn in the cooler months. Let's be honest. I mean, they're worn all year round, but in Southern California, they're worn in the cooler months. Otherwise, you're wearing flip flops and stuff. But what I'm saying is, here's this guy going through basically the 4 years of his prime in high school, playing 4 sports all year, or at least a sport all year at one time, if not 2 sports, and then building a business, keeping good grades, and then when did you decide, I think it was 10th grade or whatnot, when did you decide you wanted to kind of go to, what college, what were you thinking about, what career path were you thinking about? I know what it was, but I'd like to know.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, around the same time I started Zuzia socks, or Zuzia wear at the time, 7th grade.
Okay.
My Opa took me to Fort Irwin, which is
his grandpa, by the way.
Yeah, grandpa. He took me to an army. Well, Fort Irwin. It's basically an army training center.
Oh, okay.
It's
training center.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a very special occasion because we actually got to go out kind of in the actual field where they train, and we got to basically be in the center of like a live combat training. So literally, from me to you, there were soldiers with machine guns shooting blanks, obviously, in this Arab-looking town, and there were. It literally brought you into a war scenario.
So you're 12 years old or whatever. You're just going, this is amazing.
That's and it was just insane. And afterwards, I got the opportunity to talk to a few of the Army officers and ask them what their, why they chose to be an Army officer, what their jobs were like. And I remember after that weekend, I decided I wanted to be an Army officer. And so I
didn't even know it was that early that you thought that.
Yeah, 7th grade. Yeah, so, and also, this is a big reason why my grades changed. So I came home that weekend and I told my dad, I said, hey, what are some good schools with ROTC programs? And he said, I'm not totally sure, but let's look it up. And we were looking up ROTC programs, and then he had a thought, and he said, well, you could always go to West Point. And I said, well, what's West Point? And so I looked it up, and literally from that day to about senior year of high school, I was obsessed with, I need to get into West Point. And I think one of the ways that my grades changed is I told myself, and whether or not this is true, I know you can get into West Point even if you don't have straight A's. Like I know a lot of people with B's and C's, but I told myself, if I got anything lower than an A, I will not get into West Point. And I was convinced of that. And that thought alone is what got me good grades all through high school and the remainder of middle school. But yeah, I was obsessed with it. Everything I thought of, everything I talked about was West Point. I watched every video, read every book on West Point, and that really drove me through it. And yeah, that I would say I was kind of developing these like conflicted interests. One was like running a business, a love for entrepreneurship, and wanting to not work for someone else.
Sure.
And then this other idea was like I really want to join the military and serve as an officer. And they were all they were both like very distinct worlds that I was living in.
There's no way to mesh the two together,
And around senior year of high school, I had to kind of choose. And well, actually, I don't know the timeline of the story, but if I'll get into the end of high school if that's cool. But basically, I ended up not getting into West Point senior year of high school. So the best school I got into was Berkeley, so I went to Berkeley, and my admissions officer at West Point said, if you get a 3.0 at Berkeley your first year, you're almost guaranteed to get into West Point if you reapply.
They would let you go back and reapply. Okay.
Exactly. So they saved my whole application. All I had to do was just get another congressional nomination, but I had already met Duncan Hunter,
right?
Like gotten to know him. So it was basically a phone call, and I just, hey, can you write me another recommendation? Sure.
Right.
And I ended up getting in to West Point after my freshman year at Berkeley.
Yeah, you did the 3.0, got the letter, and then got accepted. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. So West Point, and then that created a big conflict. Like, do I transfer to what was my dream school for so long, or do I stay at Berkeley? And I had already kind of committed to this life of like, I want to be in business, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I really wanted to get into the business school at the time. And
business meaning what?
Haas School of Business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Berkeley's business school. And I really committed to that. And I said, this is really what I want to do.
Okay.
And it created a big decision. Like,
I can't imagine. I mean, I've had some rough decisions, like being almost 50 years old.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, especially at your age,
like
deciding like a full career path. I mean, like major, like one you've been obsessed with.
My life
kind of years.
It like literally looked like that, and I was at the center of it. And it's like I can either go that way or that way.
And by the way, you
didn't
different. Have a long time to figure it out either.
No,
it's not like it was years. You just
maybe
had
2 months.
Yeah.
To really make that decision,
right,
and I ended up deciding against West Point and staying at Berkeley, which I'm very happy with now. But I think I also would have been happy had I gone to West Point. Like I think both are amazing options.
Sure.
And I just had to choose one, and I think at the time, like I really had this sense that I shouldn't go to West Point. Like
it was just something internal.
You got to make the decision. I made the decision, and like I said, I think either would have worked out.
Of course, yeah. Well, speaking of internal burns and decisions, I need to decide to take another shot.
Oh man, you're going quick.
So, believe it or not, time's flying, bud.
Jeez.
It's every 5 minutes I try. Now, this one is the one that Joel and I spoke of on our episode 2 weeks ago. So we both had 4 roses. I had this 4 roses. I think I had the small batch. Okay. And yes, there's different ones. There's small batch, regular, single barrel.
Yeah, that's that nice one you were telling me about.
So this is the single barrel because it's the one he had, and I told him I would try it. So here I go. Oh my God, it's so smooth. I speak too soon, like that's because I don't want too much silence, but. Wow, that's super good. That's pretty high proof too. So I'm excited about it. Thank you so much for. You want to drink your coffee?
I'll take a shot of coffee.
I don't want you to overdo it.
As you fall asleep, I'm waking up.
What's going on? Definitely on the crux there.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of didn't speed through anything. I'm just saying I know we skipped some stuff, but it was really important to get that story. But one of the things I did want to focus on. I have another direction later on something else, but I want to focus on what sports, because I know that a lot of times, we talked about playing sports and the difficulty of trying to run a business, get A's for West Point at the time, and playing sports. Not only did you play, you also did pretty well. I mean, I don't know if football was your thing so much. I know you played and you put in the work, but I know your father conflicted. You were having concussions and stuff. We won't focus on that because I don't want anyone to think this is a knock against that, because it is what it is. I'm just saying that's why you went to more of a wrestling thing.
Well, I remember that the real decision happened is there was a football meeting and a wrestling meeting the same day.
Oh.
And I went from wrestling to football, and the wrestling team said, we want everyone to cut weight and, get down to your weight class. And then the football meeting said, we want everyone to gain 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that I don't know how I'm going to lose 15 and
Right.
gain 40 at the same time, so I have to choose.
You'd be working super hard.
Yeah.
And what's funny is there you go choosing again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You're
another decision.
Boom, boom, yeah. So it worked out for you because
Yeah.
wrestling you did, what was your, I think it was your senior year, right?
Yeah, the senior year I won league, which was cool, which basically means like you win every match within I think all the schools in your league. Doesn't mean I won every match. I definitely lost matches, but that was an accomplishment. And then I ended up not even going to CIF my junior or senior year because I was colleging or touring colleges.
You know what's funny? I remember this because Cole, he loved to challenge me.
Yeah.
So as he was getting bigger and being better at wrestling and doing good, he knew I wrestled in high school, so he would always challenge me. And we'd still get into it, man. It was funny. I mean, I don't know. At the last time we wrestled,
wrestle right now.
I don't think the last time we wrestled. I think it was kind of a draw, honestly. But I mean, it was what it was. But I mean, he was 17 years old.
Ken's in shape for his age.
But he's also, a big kid. But it was fun. I'm just saying, like, that's how we did it. He was always pushing someone, whether it's himself or, a challenging.
People either love me or they hate me.
Yeah, well, I love you, so that's a good news. But I did want to talk about that because I want to walk. I mean, if you guys aren't catching this story at all, so here he is going to school every day, okay? And that's around here like 7 o'clock, let's just say. Finishing at 3, and if you've ever played a sport in high school, you know that practice pretty much starts right after, okay? Maybe an hour after, whatever, depending on if you're varsity or JV. But let's take him to his junior and senior year when he was varsity wrestling.
Yeah.
And he was deciding West Point straight A's. He was going through wrestling practice, which is every day, and it's freaking brutal. I wrestled in high school at the 2 highest years too, and it's freaking just drenching. It's painful. You're exhausted. You're starving to death at the end. Yeah. You want more food and water than you can possibly imagine. And oh, by the way, you now have to go home and study to get good grades. Yeah. So walk me through a typical day in your hardest year, probably your senior year, because I'll get into another reason why it was hard. But let's just walk into the day of waking up, how long the days were, and how much of just keeping all that shit up. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, definitely.
What did a typical day look like for you?
Typical day is like wake up 6:30, go to school, basically focus on school during the day. So at Valley Center High School, we had a nutrition break, which was like 10 minutes, and then we had lunch, which was an hour. And during those, I would usually be in the library doing homework because didn't really have time later in the day. So I tried to just get like some busy work done, and then wrestling started right after after school.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. 4 years ago seems like a long time, but I guess it's not. Yeah, and then basically wrestling would be
usually
2.5 hours.
Right?
Yeah.
With driving and getting ready and all that. 2.5
exactly.
hours,
yeah. So wrestling would. Wrestling was good because it kind of took my mind off of school.
Sure.
And it kept me in shape.
And you got a lot of stress and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I really liked wrestling. Wrestling kind of taught me a lot that got me through college, which is like, within the first 20 minutes of wrestling practice, I was usually pretty tired. Yeah. Like, you want to be done. But you got another 2 hours to go.
Right. Now you got to wrestle people after the warm-up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the mentality of, like, quitting is not an option.
Sure.
You just have to endure. Mm-hmm. And then...
so that helped you in college, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, because college was tough. Not going to lie. Like, college definitely challenged me a lot academically. And just knowing that, like, quitting wasn't an option.
Sure.
Like, some people... I think if quitting is not an option, you figure out a way to get through something.
Of course.
And as like a captain of a team, you can't just quit
when
everyone is tired.
Choice.
When everyone is tired.
Right.
Everyone wants to be done.
You have to be the beacon, the one that's like, hey man, and you have to act all like I'm ready to roll.
You can't act like you're tired. You have to be the one encouraging others when really you want to also quit.
Yeah.
But
so go back after practice. What would happen? That's like 6:30 roughly. Right?
After practice, I would go home, eat a big dinner,
big ass meal,
shower, and then study till like 1 a.m. Do it again the next day. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because again, let's not forget you don't just run a business, order socks. You have to answer emails and figure that stuff out. Right?
I forgot about the business. So then typically I would go home. I would usually not do business stuff that late. But if I was like in a conversation with my manufacturer, they're obviously on China time. China time. I'm sure there's a word for that.
I don't know it either.
And so the communication with them would be late at night.
Right.
So I'd be doing homework and then sending a few emails.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the work was weekends with the business, and then in the mornings I would package up orders because we had a website that was producing sales. So
good. Okay.
I would, on the way to school, drop off the packages at the post office, then go to school. But that just kind of became routine work. But yeah, I mean, homework, especially senior year, I think I was in like 4 or 5 AP classes, and it was quite overwhelming and loads of homework every night.
You're making me like my brain is hurting right now because he's delivering packages for his work company. Yeah. Going to school, going to wrestling practice, coming home, studying until 1 and getting up at 6:30. That's like 5-6 hours of sleep, and then doing it all over again.
Yeah.
And not to mention all the stress. So it's probably time for me to do a shot, believe it or not. In 5 minutes goes pretty quick.
Then college applications came out. That was a lot.
But I want to talk, I have something I want to hit on right there. So I'm going to try Woodford Reserve, excuse me. This is one, again, I haven't had on the show. Obviously, I've drank it, but... drunken it? I don't know what the proper term is on that, sorry.
I don't know. Drink it?
Drank it, right? Drunk it? I think it is drunk it. Even though you're the scholar.
No, I'm not.
He's a business scholar, not an English scholar. Wood Reserve. Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. How was that?
Wow. I had it over ice. It was not as good. Shooting it.
Over ice was better.
No, this was better.
Oh, this was better.
I don't shoot whiskey. I mean, normally nobody does, but it tastes really good shooting it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to think about is that, God, I lost my train of thought. I knew
you said there was one thing.
I know, but I'm just trying to figure out what it freaking was because it was about the. It was your year. You're sitting there talking about all this and that. I'll get to it.
Sure.
So anyway, it's interesting. So let me ask you this. Oh, that's what it was.
Okay.
He had you did not have a personal life. There's no possible way other than dude friends and stuff. Like you weren't dating or there's no possible way, right?
Yeah. So I had a girlfriend, I think junior and senior year of high school.
Did you see her ever?
Yeah. Yeah. We were good at making time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that was like my social life.
I know. I'm just sitting there thinking like you did not do all the standard stuff because there's just no way. We all only have 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were busier than most Americans, most adults working, 12 hours a day.
My mindset at the time was kind of a mindset of like sacrifice. Like I viewed it as like I was sacrificing like this portion of my life to get to where I want to go. And I think in college I realized like that's not super healthy of a mindset. Like I think college I definitely found a better balance. Mm-hmm. But also like had I had that balance, maybe I wouldn't have gotten into Berkeley.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily ever say I regret it, mm-hmm. but you learn as you go, and I learned that the balance actually I think pushes you further because when you step away, you can come back with a fresh mindset to things, and I think be a little bit more productive. But yeah, I wasn't super good at like having a social life in high school. I mean, obviously I had good friends.
Sure.
But I was more the kind of guy that had like a few good friends and we would go motorcycle riding on the weekends. But I don't think I went to a party in high school.
And what's cool though is what I'm trying to get at that's actually like a mindset we should all have because we all know that high school is first of all super hard. Like whether it's the peer pressure and all the different things that we all go through. I still remember my high school. It doesn't mean that it was wrong to do what you did. It was actually probably the best thing for you because otherwise you'd get wrapped up in a lot of things. And there's a lot of people that do the high school burnout, right? Yeah. They're the popular kids in high school and then they fizzle out later. Yeah. Because that was their best 4 years. You were like, I'm going to focus. I'll worry about and I always try and tell my kids that. It's like high school is just a blip. It literally is. It can be good, but it's certainly not the rest of your life.
I don't think that there's like one standard way that everyone should do life.
Like, exactly.
And for me, I had certain goals that I wanted to meet, and I knew I had a good idea of what I needed to do to get to those goals, but I think
not
everyone's goal should be to go to a good college.
Right.
Like, that's just what I wanted to do. But if you don't want to go to a good college and you have some other vision of what you want to be, then, you know, great.
No,
great.
yeah. But we're not here to we're here to teach you guys that hard work and vision pays off.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be everyone's vision.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with me is I would never settle for something I don't want. And still to this day, like, you know, I was not going, like, I wanted to go to a good school, and I was not going to settle for, in my mind, what, you know, a not good school was.
Right.
And same thing with, you know, choosing a major.
Right.
I ended up not getting into the business school.
Right.
And I had all the prerequisites to choose econ as a major. And, you know, econ's great. A lot of people love it. I didn't enjoy my econ classes, and had I chosen econ, in my mind, I would have been settling. And I was not willing to settle. So I chose data science because it sounded like a challenge. It sounded like it could give me skills that I had wanted. Like, you know, being in Berkeley, there are so many people who code and talk about tech, and kind of being in the business school, I felt outside of that world that I thought was growing and very important. And data science kind of was my opportunity to enter into that world that I had never been in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool. And then same thing with after college, like choosing a job. Like, I got a job offer at a company that, it was a great company. You know, I've used their products in my life. I love it. But in my mind, that job would have been settling. It wasn't my goal. So I just kept pushing, and I ended up getting to where I wanted to go. But yeah, I think a lot of people, what I've noticed is they settle for stuff that they don't necessarily want, and then they kind of think like, man, I can never achieve my goals because I'm not good enough.
Right,
but
that's not
really
true.
I think, you know, saying everyone's the same is probably not true, but
no, but you know what I'm saying.
Everyone doubts
has
themselves.
the ability.
Everyone doubts themselves, and no one is as smart as you make them to be. So
because you know what, I don't want you to stop your thought, but think about it. He has already mentioned that he didn't get into West Point the first time.
Yeah.
And then he also didn't get into the business school. But yet, that's what I'm trying. He's trying to. You just made that point earlier.
Yeah.
On your own, like you didn't realize it. Like he literally sat there and said, "I did not get into West Point the first time."
Yeah.
But he didn't give up, and then he didn't give up into the business. He didn't get into business school, so he thought, "I got to do something else." So that's amazing to think you didn't just all that freaking hard work and you still didn't like cry in your milk and freaking give up.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times in life, like we're on this path that we think we're supposed to be, and that path doesn't work out, and then you're kind of forced to go on another path, and then you realize, wow, this path is so much better.
That was the path you might have been.
But I was so stuck on this path, I would have never seen that path.
Yeah.
So I think what I've now realized is like I've never had a 5-year goal work out. 5-year plan has never worked out for me. So stop. So don't make them.
5-year plan. Yeah,
so don't make them.
That's way too far in advance, right?
Like honestly, like like at this stage right now, I really try to not plan further than like 6 months ahead.
Yeah.
Because why? Like I think planning is good, and some people love planning, and that's great. And sometimes you should plan. But
of course,
when it comes to your life, I think when you plan, you also eliminate opportunities that may arise. And if this opportunity comes up that could be something big, but it doesn't align with your plan, you could miss something great. So I think it's better to kind of be on your toes and to kind of like let life come in at you, and you just kind of like observe
figure it out.
different opportunities, and just really not try to create the structure of what you want your life to be. Because I think that's kind of a limiting thought, because most people don't like. I have always thought I was dumb. Like even to this day, I feel dumb around a lot of my friends from Berkeley.
Of course,
but I think that's also very normal for people to doubt themselves. And I think that when you make plans, you don't necessarily give yourself the full potential that you could have. Kind of like what David Goggins talks about, like when you have a wet rag, and view the wet rag as like your life, and what you really want to do is like drain all the water out and get all the possible water out of that rag, and you want to do that with your life. Like you want to get everything out of you that you can. And I think the best way to do that is to like not make these strict plans.
Right.
But like I said, sometimes it's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other good thing is I have another shot, and I'm starting to get buzzed. But what's cool about that is there's 2 things in there that I now, when you keep talking, it just brings
giving
stuff
you points.
up. Yeah, it's amazing. But right now, I'm going to do Stonehammer, which is one I haven't had yet. It's 90 proof, and it's one I just picked up and said, what the hell, it looks super good. It was expensive, so I thought it must be good, but that isn't always the case either. Well, cost doesn't always mean it's good, right? You know how that goes.
That's how we're trained to think.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go, man. Coffee up. But it is good.
Yeah?
I'm enjoying all these high-end whiskeys. I really like them.
Can you notice like a very
absolutely
distinct, yeah,
at 100%.
I feel like if I were to drink them, it would all taste.
You would all say the same.
But the peanut butter whiskey.
Yes.
What's that one
called? Screwball.
Screwball. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, you can. You're like I know the difference in that one because it tastes like peanut butter.
They literally taste like peanut butter.
So there's 2 things that he brought up, other than his amazing like knowledge as a 22-year-old kid, like talking about life and decisions. But you had brought up Goggins, which we'll bring up at the end because that might be one of the reasons we talked about at the beginning. But a lot of people don't know that I didn't throw in there that you were also the senior president of your class, correct? So
that's correct.
So now let's go back and throw another layer on that. How does that even happen? Who nominates you? How do you run? Is there time involved?
So what sparked that interest is I was looking at the Air Force Academy application because I was applying to West Point in the Air Force Academy, and there was I got to see the application a little bit early, and it said there was a checkbox that said, "Are you a class president?" And it didn't say freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Right. It didn't say anything else. It just said class president. And I really wanted to check that box.
Yeah.
So I ran for senior class president, and I was running against 2 very popular. They were twins, and I knew it was going to be tough, and so I really had to come up with some strategy.
Yeah.
And instead of kind of like focusing on putting up banners and flyers and kind of having like very general statements. I just went around and talked to people. I went into like every like club that was underrepresented and just talked to people, asked what they wanted at the school, and made like their
needs,
their comments as a part of my campaign.
Right.
And it ended up where I think I won by like 8 votes.
Oh wow, close, but because
250 people, I won by 8 votes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they had to recount it like several times.
Yeah, because it's like, is this 8? Yeah, but what's cool is like you got to check that box.
Yeah.
Now, did that add any time commitment other than like going to homecoming and being announced as the president or anything?
Yeah, it added a time commitment, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it was a non-academic time commitment, so it kind of forced me to take my mind off of like calculus at the time and statistics. So it was good. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I remember when we were at the homecoming when you were like announcing stuff. It was just I brought that up because it's like we didn't add enough to his high school career, right?
Yeah, I mean there's lots of things that we're jumping over. It's hard to fit everything into an hour.
No, absolutely.
But you're getting the general story.
I'm getting the hard part, right?
Yeah.
I mean the other stuff. I mean there's way more difficult things that you dealt with, but because we obviously know his parents and the struggles they went through with loss and things like that, and many a barbecue in between with us and baseball and all those good things that we had together. Him punching me and then I punched him and he was on it. Lots of good stuff like that. But we do want to hit on, I do have another shot, but not right now. But we do want to hit on a little bit because what's interesting is you brought up 2 weeks ago, and you probably haven't seen it yet. I'm hoping because you haven't watched. It sounds like you haven't watched your parents' one yet. So hopefully
I have not. I
like and subscribe.
Yeah.
But again, he's busy. I'm on podcast now, so you might want to listen to your parents' story. He's probably heard it a few hundred times. That's probably why he doesn't hear it.
I know what they're gonna say.
right. But Joel, the trainer, the one I had on episode 1 and 2, 6 and 7. He said the exact same thing, which is what I wanted to come back to because I thought it was pretty interesting. He always said there's a fuck it button. And he hits that button, and it's what you kind of did is like, you can't live that far out in advance. Like, he would just be like, opportunity came, and he's like, I just got to try this path, and if not, I always have. That's exact. I just want to bring that point back because that was pretty cool that you said that. How you're like, I can't plan that far because things need to come to you. You may have something else come up and that's exactly what he was. His whole point to that interview was that. And then the other thing was Goggins. So you obviously know when Albert Hernandez and I had our interview, we brought up David Goggins and Spartans and Tough Mudders and his mindset. So Cole, if you don't know, well, of course you don't know unless you know him personally, he actually hit me with a surprise. Because he wasn't drinking, he said he wouldn't do a bunch of shots, but he would actually do some sippers. Well, tonight he hit me with, I committed to not drink for 3 months. And I'm sitting there going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Because honestly, I'm not going to, my guests are about the interview and the time and the stories. Not about the whiskey. I'm more than happy to do his shots for him. But ultimately...
You're going to take 6 more now.
No, well, later, of course.
Yeah.
When we're having dinner.
Yeah.
But my thing is, it's like, I don't know if he was inspired by Goggins or inspired by me, because, you know, I've been in his life a long time, and I work out a lot. I'm just joking.
Don't give yourself too
I'm
much
just
credit.
kidding, yeah. But he shows up and says, I'm going to run a what? Ultra marathon?
Yeah.
Like a mini one or whatever. And I'm like, you don't even run. You're not even, like, in that, no offense, but he's not even that great of shape. Like, he rides motorcycles and stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, let's go. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to run 50 or 36 miles in the mountains of Zion. And so I'm very proud of him for actually just like deciding to do it, him and his brother. But tell me about like what all happened there. You're in college. Now you've got a great job, which we'll talk about at the very end. Yeah. But what the frick happened? I haven't seen him in like 3 weeks. He shows up and he's like, now I'm going to run a freaking ultra marathon.
Well, the motivation for that kind of happened, I would say, about 2 months ago. I was calling up my buddy Evan, and I wasn't going to drop his name, but Evan. And
it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So we were talking, and he basically just said, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I said, nothing. And I'd already told him nothing. Yeah. And he said, all right, well, let's go run 15 miles. And I said, 15 miles, bro? I've only run like 2 miles max. Like, I've never run
like running is not my
more
thing.
than 2 or 3 miles. Yeah. And I said, dude, I can't do that. Yeah. He goes, what do you mean you
15
can't?
Is far, yeah.
And he's like, it's all in your head. And I said, bro, I literally cannot run 15 miles. And he said, you will be surprised at what you can do. He said, let's do it. And I was like, I paused because I was searching for excuses in my head. Like, I was trying to come up with every reason why I couldn't go on this run.
Right. But there's that brain coming back. You're like, why are you not giving us 100%?
I could not come up with an excuse. So I had to say yes. So he came over at like 7 p.m. It was already like getting dark outside.
Yeah.
And
it was early spring, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we basically ran 15 miles, and it was like raining. It was pitch black, and
you probably didn't set like the world on fire.
No,
I'm sure you pulled like 15 minutes because he had to wait for you.
We were at about a 12-minute pace.
Oh, okay,
yeah, but there were like hills and
no, I know. I'm just saying, like you're like first time, you're like, I just need to run it, right?
Yeah. And we near the end we walked up a few hills, so we probably ran about 14 of the 15 miles. Yeah, and
believe me, I'm not judging you. Like, that's a lot of freaking miles.
And I mean, like, near the end of it, my feet were hurting so bad. Like, I swear, I had stress fractures, like, all on my feet. And
I run marathons and trained, and that you just get up and just show up for 15 miles. That's not normal.
And I remember for, like, 3 weeks, my feet were just screwed up. Yeah. Like, I could barely walk. My legs were, like, swollen. I mean, it was a lot.
It's very Goggins like with that one he just showed up for 100 miles and he's like I don't know what
exactly.
He's like eating crackers.
I would compare myself to him, but
but it's very interesting. You just said throw it, fuck it.
And we ended up talking, and Evan had just done a 50-mile race, very first one ever, first ultra, and he won it. Right. And he's very entrepreneurial, and he said, dude, like, the stuff you learn about yourself when you run an ultra, you know, he said it's not even that physical. I mean, of course it's physical, but it's more in your mind. Yeah. And it's kind of that same thing I talked about with wrestling. Like, you are the only one that can get you through this race, and no one's going to come and save you in the middle of the desert. Like, you have to finish. Quitting is not an option. Right. And I thought that like realization would be very beneficial for me. And I had just finished Berkeley, and I had felt like I had kind of, like I had always kind of wanted some sort of academic validation. Sure. Like, and for me, Berkeley gave me that. Okay. But I'd never really done anything that I was proud of physically. And I thought, well, what a great way to start focusing on kind of my physical side. And he told me he was racing in Zion in September, and he encouraged me to sign up. And I swear I stared at the website for like a month.
The click button check out.
For like a month, I would go back on random nights and just like almost sign up, but it was so hard to sign up because I knew once I signed up, like there was no backing out. Like,
well, you're not going to back out.
I paid $150 for this race. I'm not going to back out.
Ooh.
Yeah,
but it's more about your mindset.
It's more about the mindset. Like I'm not going to commit to this race and then back out. And Evan had told me, he said, "Dude, signing up is the hardest part." He's like, because once you're signed up, it gets easy.
Yeah.
Because you just have to train. Like, you
Right,
just know what you have to do. So I ended up signing up, and part of that is I cut out alcohol, and
hence the not
hence
drinking.
the coffee.
Yeah.
And I've been running every day, and it's 50 kilometers, so it's like a little over 30 miles.
Yeah.
So it's not a
it's
a crazy ultra, but
yeah.
I view it as my introduction into ultras, and I'd like to keep going with it. But I also like the results. Like, it's forcing me to work out. Usually I would wake up and I would have this battle, and I would, one side of me would say go run, and the other side would usually win and be like, nah, just keep sleeping. Very Goggins, but but now it's not even a decision. Like, I know I have to run in the mornings. Like, I don't even consider not running.
Yeah.
And I think that obligation to something is, for me, when it comes to physical things, having some sort of obligation is the only way I'll stick to a routine.
You speak to me, bro.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people know that, obviously a lot of people already know that I like to do Spartans and race and all that stuff. But it's funny because, like you said this morning, I'm like, so I did a workout and then I ran a mile just after. It was like I did a workout and then I'm like, I need more.
Yeah.
You're like, that's not enough. So I did like an 8 mile, 8-minute mile. But it's like, I just want to do more. Because, and believe me, I am not a fan of ultras, like, because I'm what, 20-some years? 26
You're in shape.
years,
you could handle it.
26 years difference with this guy.
Excuses.
And I'm like, no, I'll do it. You ready?
Yeah.
I'll sign the frick up.
You'll sign up?
I'll do it, absolutely.
He's signing up.
Of course I will. That's not even a drink. I will do it.
All right.
If you're ready, I'll do it. Honestly, I've always wanted to do something different. Well, you don't think I'll do it? You don't think I'll beat you?
I think you'll want to beat me more than I want to beat you.
I like it. Let me get the last shot in, then we'll close with Cole's final thoughts because we need to know where Cole ended up after college. But right now, we're actually ending up with a bizarre situation. It's a Kirkland bourbon, which means Costco, by the way. So I looked it up just because Costco always seems to have that, hey, we're going to do something different. We're not the ones that make it. So it's actually brewed or distilled, I guess, because it's not brewed, it's not beer. It's distilled in the same distillery as Buffalo Trace, even though it's not Buffalo Trace. It's actually, they say it tastes like Jim Beam. So I'm going to judge it, but it's 103 proof. And Jim Beam or Buffalo Trace are not that strong. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
I'm either getting really good at shooting whiskey or all these are super good because...
Probably both.
Well,
you said this was what, $70 a bottle, $65?
Yeah, that's 65.
So
but what I'm saying is
whiskey.
The good whiskey is easier to shoot.
Yeah.
I could shoot Jack, I could shoot Jim Beam, but all I'm saying is I'm probably killing my liver. But let's go into Cole's. So after college, so Cole actually was supposed to graduate this year along with his brother. His brother was graduating high school. Cole's graduating college.
Yes.
Here we are in the middle of a pandemic. He gets sent home, right?
Yes.
Basically, all the kids go home school, college goes to school. Did you get your job at your FANG before the pandemic hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. Did you apply? Did they recruit you? What?
Yeah, so this is another point kind of on what I was saying earlier. I actually...
Yeah, because you said you gave up a job or something, right?
Yeah, so there's kind of a whole story. I don't even know if I've told you this yet, but I was... it was the start of senior year, and there was an entrepreneurship boot camp that one of my friends wanted to go to, and she was like, hey, do you want to do this with me? And I was like, not really.
What is that, by the way?
It's a 7-day, 12-hour day boot camp where you join a team, launch an idea, talk to investors, pitch the idea, but it's all like for practice.
Yeah,
but it was great.
Like a game show. like a what's it called? That one where they travel across the world. Amazing Race. I'm just saying.
I've never seen it, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's that kind of thing where you're like putting together a team, an idea, and you
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a week-long thing.
Right.
And I didn't want to do it because it required me to go back to school a week early, and I only had, because I had an internship that summer, I only had 2 weeks of break, so I didn't want to give up half my break. But I ended up doing it, and I was wearing a NASA t-shirt, and one of the guys on my team said, hey, did you intern at NASA? And I said, yeah, I actually did. I just got back from Mississippi. I interned there.
We didn't get into that story, but we'll just mention that at the very end. Yeah.
I said, I just interned there. Where did you intern? And he said, this company. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then he said, yeah, like, you know, if you ever want to apply there, like send me your resume and
He was in your group?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And just send me your resume and I'll give you a referral.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this was an event that I didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
And
oh my God,
I was sucked into going to it.
Again,
Yeah.
there's that whole bring it to me, right?
And so reached out, the recruiter reached out to me, talked to them a little bit, and I had, I think, a couple phone screen interviews, and nothing much came out of it. This was like maybe November, December of 2019.
Oh, okay, 2019, yeah.
Ended up getting an offer at a different company. It was in a different state, and I wasn't super into it.
Offer, yeah.
And I wasn't super into it. I mean, like I said, it would have been settling in my mind.
Right.
And it wasn't my dream job by any means. And it was getting real close to the time I had to accept the offer. I had like 4 weeks left to let them know.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I want to reach back out to this other company.
Oh, so you reached out.
And I said, hey, are there any other openings? Like, you know, I really want to do this.
Right.
And they said, yeah, like we actually have a few openings you can interview for. And ended up interviewing over the phone. A few teams liked me, ended up getting an on-site interview, did well. And then they sent me an offer the day I had to let the other company know.
Oh, God, yes.
And
that's awesome.
I just accepted it on the phone. I said, this is my dream job.
Yeah.
This is...
I want this. Sorry to that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that worked out. But I think what it really was is, number one, putting myself in scenarios where opportunities arise.
Mm-hmm.
And number two...
Sorry.
The fan just went on.
The air conditioning.
And number two is just not settling. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew I didn't want to work at the other company. Great company.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. But it just for me, it wasn't my goal. Yeah. And kept pushing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, again, we did skip a little bit of there was a couple internships which were extremely... Again, this guy just seems to amaze me. I mean, I was in the military and I traveled, but he went to Hong Kong with his sister 2 years ago. Yeah. And then he went to, last year, he did internship at NASA. Yeah. You know, in Texas, correct?
Mississippi.
Yep. Sorry. But again, it's all about, just think about this for a second. 7th grade, changed your mindset, your uncle. I mean, it's just all, you know, you're pretty much why we have this show. I mean, honestly, everyone has struggles, right? Yeah. And I wanted people to understand that at such a young age that I wanted Cole to give you the struggles of a young man. Yeah. You know, you haven't had, you had death, but not like your mom or dad or anything that some of my guests have, but you've just persevered and pushed through. Yeah. And for me, I want people like my kids and your brothers and people to see that, you know, this is how I was. I just knew there was something else. Yeah. You know, there was something bigger, better.
That you're capable of.
You just push through. You do whatever you can. And a lot of people at my age are like, hey, man, I'm done. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. But it's like, dude, get the frick off the couch. And
I hate the word can't. I've tried to eliminate that.
I don't even know what the hell. I literally don't even use that word. I can't tell you the last time I've said that word other than just like in retrospect to someone else's. Yeah. So we're going to end this up here. We're just going to ask Cole, based on your dream job that you got, is that pretty much the final word? I mean, are you happy there? Or are you planning on staying there? Or do you really want to be something else?
I really like where I'm at. Like, okay. I think it's awesome. Love the
I can't imagine you aren't.
Am I going to be there my whole life?
6
I don't plan that. I don't plan that far ahead, but no, I really like it. I definitely see myself here for a while, and I think it's a job I will really grow at, and really just I think within this job, other opportunities will arise, and like I said, I don't know where I'm going to be. Like I don't really think like that, but I think that I'm definitely happy where I am right now.
That's good. That's good. Well, ultimately, that's all that matters. I mean, like you achieved what you wanted. You've been through so freaking much, and to come out on the top and to not drink whiskey, I'm so upset. Because he'd be a little buzzed right now.
Well, you better stop too if you're signing up for this ultra.
I'm signing up. I don't give a damn. My wife's gonna be like, "Oh, great." Anyway, peace out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cole Striler, check him out. Alex and Tammy, check out his parents. They all have great stories. And good night.
That was fun.